Good evening. I'm Chuck Todd here in Washington. Welcome to MTP Daily. Folks, what I just saw gave me the wrong kind of chills. Honestly, I'm a bit shaken from what I just heard and suspect it's not just me. Moments ago at Trump Tower, the President of the United States painted white nationalists and members of the alt-right as victims of what he described as club-wielding members of the alt-left. It was a chilling mix of whataboutism, false equivalence, and a total muddying of the waters after one person was killed and at least 19 were injured when members of the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists protested the removal of a Confederate statue in Charlottesville. Where to begin? You might as well start with the president painting these white nationalist protesters as the real victims of a violent left-wing movement.
What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
Let
me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
Sure, when violence breaks out like what we saw this weekend, there's usually more than enough blame to go around. But when was the last time you saw a president of the United States defend the cause of white nationalists? Here's the president talking about the removal of Confederate monuments.
Is it George Washington next week, and is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Yes, the president just conflated the Confederacy and the Revolutionary War. Anyway, he pleaded ignorance when he refused to admit that he waited too long to denounce the KKK and neo-Nazis and white supremacists who were at that rally.
Why did you wait so long to last neo-Nazi?
I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct. Not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement. But you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me. Everybody said his statement was beautiful. If he would have made it sooner, that would have been good. I couldn't have made it sooner because I didn't know all of the facts. Frankly, people still don't know all of the facts.
I'm sure you remember all the times that candidate Trump waited to learn the facts about a situation before he tweeted. I remember that a lot during that campaign. And last, but certainly not least, he did not express total confidence in his chief political strategist, Steve Bannon, who is basically, some would argue, the chief emissary in that White House to the alt-right.
Do you still have confidence in Steve?
Well, we'll see. And look. I like Mr. Bannon. He's a friend of mine. But Mr. Bannon came on very late. You know that. I went through 17 senators, governors, and I won all the primaries. Mr. Bannon came on very much later than that. And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person. He actually gets a very unfair press in that regard. But we'll see what happens with Mr. Bannon. But he's a good person, and I think the press treats him, frankly, very unfairly.
All right, that had to be the most uncomfortable defense that Steve Bannon's ever had somebody make for him, defending him and say, but we don't know about his job. Folks, buckle up, because the fallout from these remarks today are going to be truly massive. David Duke, that former Grand Wizard of the KKK, just tweeted, "Thank you, President Trump, for your honesty and courage to tell the truth about Charlottesville and condemn the leftist terrorists in Black Lives Matter and the anti-fascists."
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.